My family forgot about my bridal shower and shrugged. It's not like you're really married yet, so I quietly returned the custom gifts I ordered. The next day, when my fiancé's parents asked about them, I'm Delia, and I never thought I'd be writing a post like this. I'm not someone who likes to make waves or stir up drama, but honestly, I'm still processing what happened, and I could really use some outside perspective. I'm 32 years old, living in a small town in Northern California, where everyone knows everyone. Most of my family still lives here, and for a while, I thought I was pretty close with them. But lately, I've been questioning a lot of those relationships. I've been with Andrew for almost 4 years. He's my rock, the most thoughtful and loving person I've ever met. When he proposed last year, I was over the moon. We got engaged during a trip to Napa Valley, just the two of us, and it felt like everything was falling into place. Andrew and I decided to get married there. He's from a small town nearby, and it just felt right. We were excited about the wedding, but more importantly, I wanted to celebrate the start of this new chapter with the people I love the most. That's why I had been planning my bridal shower for months, pouring time and energy into making it perfect. I wanted to create an intimate experience that felt special, something my family could really enjoy. I had visions of a small gathering, a lovely afternoon surrounded by my sisters, my mom, my closest friends, and, of course, Andrew's family. It was going to be at a cute little bistro overlooking a vineyard, a beautiful spot for such an occasion. I even went out of my way to pick out custom gifts for everyone attending. I had special engraved bracelets made for my sisters, a delicate locket for my mom, and a vintage photo frame for my future mother-in-law, Diane. I wanted these gifts to show how much I appreciated them and how grateful I was to have them in my life. I was excited to give them out, hoping they'd see how much effort I put into making the day meaningful. But when the day of the shower arrived, everything started to go wrong. The morning of the bridal shower, I was anxiously checking my phone, hoping to see a message from my mom, my sisters, someone saying they were on their way. Andrew had already left to visit his parents, so I was there, getting ready with my bridesmaids. The venue was set up, everything was looking beautiful, and I was just waiting for my family to show up. But as the minutes ticked by, I started to feel a knot in my stomach. By the time the first few guests arrived, still no sign of my mom, Poppy, or Rowan, my two sisters. My best friend, Claire, who was also one of my bridesmaids, kept reassuring me that they were probably just running late. But with each passing minute, I started to feel the sting of disappointment. I tried to push it out of my mind and focus on the celebration, but my mind kept wandering back to my family. Where were they? Why hadn't they called or texted to say they were running behind? I checked my phone again. A text from Poppy popped up, something about being busy with the kids and that she'd try to stop by later. No word from my mom. No word from Rowan. The shower went on without them. I tried to smile and laugh, but the truth is, I felt so alone. My mom had been the one who helped me plan so many things growing up. I'd expected her to be there, as any mother would be for their daughter's bridal shower. Instead, she was a no-show. And I didn't want to make a scene, so I didn't confront her right away, but I couldn't help but feel devastated. The event ended a few hours later. I'd kept it together, but I was exhausted, emotionally drained. My guests all started to leave, and that's when I got a text from Rowan, saying she was sorry she couldn't make it and that we should get together soon. I didn't even respond. I could feel myself getting angry, but I knew I needed answers. So, I texted my mom, asking her what had happened. Her response was a simple, "We've been busy. I'll explain later." That was it. No apology, no acknowledgement of how hurtful it was that she hadn't shown up or at least called. And that was the moment I realized, none of them truly cared. It wasn't just about missing the shower. It was about years of putting my needs and emotions on the back burner. It wasn't the first time they'd been absent or distant. This was just the straw that broke the camel's back. I spent the next few days trying to process everything. I felt like an afterthought in my own family. They had always been like this, disorganized, flaky, and more interested in their own lives than anyone else's. But this time, it really hit me. It hurt more than I expected it to. I sat in my living room, looking at the custom gifts I had bought for them, gifts that had been chosen with care and love. And that's when I made a decision. I wasn't going to let them take advantage of my kindness anymore. I quietly packed up all the gifts, carefully rewrapped them, and returned everything. It felt empowering, but also so incredibly sad. The people I had hoped to celebrate with, the ones I had spent so much time thinking about, didn't deserve these tokens of love. The next day, Andrew's parents came over to check in on us and ask how the bridal shower went. Diane asked me about the bracelet I had picked out for her, saying it looked beautiful and she had been looking forward to wearing it. That's when I had to bite my tongue. I couldn't tell her the truth, how I had returned everything because my own family had let me down. But I also couldn't lie. I decided to return them, I said quietly. Diane looked taken aback. Why? I thought you were really excited about them. I didn't want to go into it right then. I didn't want to bring up all the pain I was feeling, but I couldn't help myself. I told her how my family hadn't shown up, how they hadn't even bothered to reach out. I told her about the hurt I felt, how I'd spent so much time trying to make everything perfect, and how it felt like no one cared. There was silence for a moment before Diane gently said, "I'm so sorry, Delia. I didn't realize it was that bad. I can't imagine how hurt you must feel." I could feel the tears threatening to spill, but I held them back. It's just not how I imagined things going, you know? I thought they would care, that they would show up for me. But now I'm just so done. Andrew's dad, Richard, chimed in from across the room, his voice calm but full of sympathy. It's hard when people you love don't show up. But don't let it change what's ahead of you. You deserve people who make an effort to be there for you. I nodded, even though I wasn't sure I agreed. I didn't know if I could forgive my family. The damage felt too deep, and the disappointment was too heavy. But there was something comforting in hearing Andrew's parents' support. At least they were showing me that I mattered. But the aftermath was harder than I thought. After everything had settled down, I realized that it wasn't just the bridal shower that had broken my heart, it was everything. All those years of feeling like a second priority to everyone else. I couldn't keep pretending it didn't matter. And while I didn't know where my relationship with my family would go from here, I knew I couldn't force things anymore. Maybe some things were beyond repair, but maybe, just maybe, it was time to put myself first for once. I don't know what the future holds with my family, but I do know this: I'm not going to beg anyone to love me. I'm not going to keep pretending everything is fine when it's not. But for now, I'm focused on Andrew, on building the life we've always dreamed of. And maybe, in time, I'll find a way to heal the cracks in my family, if they're willing to meet me halfway. I don't know what I expected from my family after everything that happened. Maybe I thought there'd be an apology, or at least an attempt to make up for it. But in the days that followed, nothing really changed. No phone calls, no heartfelt messages. My mom never even tried to explain, and my sisters, well, they were doing their usual thing. Rowan had sent a few texts, mostly asking about wedding details, very surface-level stuff, nothing about the shower. Poppy did the same. It felt like they didn't care. And even though I had been the one to take the first step in expressing my feelings, I couldn't help but wonder, was I wrong for wanting them to show up? Was it too much to expect them to care enough to be there for me during such an important moment in my life? Andrew was incredibly supportive. He could see I was struggling, but he didn't push me to talk about it unless I wanted to. I could tell it hurt him, too. He'd known from the start how close I was to my family, how I'd always thought that no matter what, they'd have my back. He'd seen me brush off their little shortcomings over the years, always chalking it up to that's just how they are. But when it came to something like this, even he couldn't understand how they'd dropped the ball so completely. We had dinner with his parents a week after the bridal shower, and I could tell Diane was still a little hesitant when it came to bringing up the subject. She was kind, though, always trying to understand what I was feeling. She didn't ask any probing questions but instead just gave me space to vent. Richard, on the other hand, was more direct. "If they're not showing up for you now, what's it going to be like when you really need them?" he asked one night after dinner. His words hit me hard, harder than I thought they would. I hadn't even realized that, deep down, I was already afraid of that very thing. That this would be the pattern with them forever. I didn't want to be the person who always had to lower my expectations just to keep the peace. And, at that moment, I knew that I was done doing that. After that dinner, I sat with Andrew in the quiet of our living room, the weight of the conversation still hanging in the air. "I'm so sorry, Delia," he said softly, rubbing my arm. "I hate that you're going through this. You don't deserve it." I could feel the tears welling up, but I swallowed them back. I don't even know what I want anymore. Do I want them to apologize? Do I want to force them to understand how hurt I am? Or do I just move on and try to build a new family with you and your parents? Andrew looked at me with his gentle eyes, as if he was waiting for me to figure it out myself. "You don't have to have all the answers right now. Take it one step at a time. We'll figure it out together." It was the first time I truly felt the weight of his commitment, and it was comforting. But I also knew I had to do something. I couldn't just sit back and let everything slide. I spent the next few weeks quietly reflecting, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. The wedding was fast approaching, and despite the lingering disappointment with my family, I still wanted to have the day of my dreams. But how could I do that when my family was nowhere to be found? And when they did show up, how could I pretend things were okay? I reached out to Poppy again, after a few days of silence. I asked her if we could grab coffee. She agreed, and I drove to the cafe where we used to go when we were younger, before life got complicated. She arrived late, her hair pulled back in a messy bun, wearing a casual hoodie. Typical Poppy. I could already feel my frustration bubbling up, but I kept it in check. "Hey," I said, trying to keep my voice light. "How've you been?" "Busy. You know how it is," she replied, shrugging. "How's everything with the wedding stuff?" I couldn't hold back any longer. "I don't know, Poppy. I guess I'm just trying to figure out where you've been. You didn't come to my bridal shower, and I didn't hear anything from you after. Not even a phone call. It just feels like I don't matter to you sometimes." She looked at me, her eyes widening a bit, but I could tell she was already defensive. "Delia, don't do this. I'm here now, aren't I? Being here now doesn't change anything. You weren't there when I needed you. When I needed my family to show up, you weren't there. And I'm tired of pretending it doesn't hurt." She didn't respond immediately. She stirred her coffee, avoiding my gaze. Finally, she sighed. "I don't know what you want from me. I didn't think it was a big deal. It's not like I did it on purpose. Things just happen. I don't know. I'm sorry, okay?" Her apology felt hollow. I was expecting something more, something genuine. But instead, it was like she was apologizing for the inconvenience, not for the hurt. I felt my disappointment deepen, and I had to stop myself from saying more. "It wasn't going to change anything. I just need you to understand how much it hurt," I said, my voice softer now. "And I need you to do better. If you care about me, then show up for me. Don't let me keep begging for the things that should come naturally." She looked at me, her face unreadable. "I'll try. I don't know what else you want me to say." And that was it. That was the conversation. No more, no less. It wasn't what I had hoped for. It wasn't the heartfelt apology or the deep connection I had been craving. But it was something. Maybe it was all I was going to get. Maybe I was asking too much. I walked away from that conversation with mixed feelings. Part of me was relieved to finally say what had been on my mind, but another part of me felt like I had just opened up a wound that was never going to heal. Poppy wasn't going to change. At least not in the way I needed her to. The days that followed weren't any easier. I kept myself busy with wedding planning, but the cloud of family tension hung over me like a dark shadow. My mom didn't call. Rowan didn't reach out. And every time I thought about it, my stomach would churn with frustration. It felt like I was fighting a battle on my own. Andrew was there for me, but it wasn't the same. This was about family, the people who were supposed to be there from the very beginning. And right now, I didn't know where we stood. But I couldn't dwell on it forever. The wedding was coming up fast, and despite everything, I wanted to enjoy it. I wanted it to be a celebration of love, of Andrew and me. Even if my family couldn't be a part of it, I still had so much to look forward to. The week before the wedding, I received a message from my mom. It was short, almost like an afterthought. "I'm sorry about the shower. I didn't realize how much it meant to you. Can we talk?" I stared at the message for a long time before responding. What did I even want from her at this point? Would her apology be enough to fix the brokenness I was feeling? I sat with my phone in hand, staring at my mom's message. My heart raced. I didn't know what I wanted from her anymore. I didn't know if I even wanted to talk to her. It had taken me a long time to get to this point, to realize that my relationship with her, with my entire family, wasn't going to be the way I'd always hoped it would be. For so many years, I'd held on to this fantasy of the perfect family, always trying to make up for their flaws, never letting go of the idea that things could be different. But after the bridal shower, after all the months of disappointment, I knew it wasn't going to change. And maybe, just maybe, I needed to let go. But there was a part of me that wasn't ready to forgive them yet. The part of me that was still hurt. The part of me that felt like a second-class citizen in my own family. So, when I finally responded to my mom, I did it on my terms. I asked her to meet me the next day, but I made it clear I wasn't coming from a place of anger. I wanted answers, but more than that, I wanted closure. We met at the same cafe where Poppy and I had sat weeks before. I wasn't sure if she was going to show up, if she was going to back out the way she always did, but to my surprise, she was there when I arrived, sitting at a corner table, her usual calm demeanor masking the tension that had been building between us for months. "Hey," I said, sitting down across from her. "Thanks for meeting with me." She nodded, her eyes weary. "Of course. I've been thinking about everything. I know I hurt you, Delia. I'm sorry. It's just, everything got so overwhelming. Your wedding, the shower, everything happening all at once. And I didn't know how to handle it." I looked at her, waiting for more. The words felt empty, almost rehearsed, but I needed to hear them. "You know what really hurt? It wasn't just about missing the shower. It was the fact that you didn't even try. You didn't even give me the decency to let me know what was going on. For once, I wanted you to show up for me. To be there when it mattered." "I get it. I do," she said, sighing. "I didn't realize how much it meant to you. It's just, I've been so caught up in my own world, trying to handle everything. I didn't mean to neglect you." "You've been doing that for years, Mom," I replied, my voice steady but filled with emotion. And this time, it felt like too much. I wanted more than an apology. I wanted you to see me. To understand that I've been here, trying to make you proud, and this time, I wanted you to show up. I needed you to show up." There was a long pause, and for a brief moment, I thought maybe she finally understood. But then, she looked down at her hands, avoiding my gaze. "I don't know how to fix this. I really don't. I'm sorry I let you down." "I don't need you to fix anything," I said quietly. "I just needed you to be present. I don't expect you to change, Mom. I just wanted you to care." She nodded slowly, her face filled with regret. "I care, Delia. I really do. And I wish I'd shown it better. I don't know if we can go back to how things were, but I want to try. I really do." I wanted to believe her. I did. But deep down, I knew that it wouldn't be the same. I knew that no matter how many apologies we exchanged, the cracks in our relationship had already formed. It was too late for us to go back. But in that moment, I made a decision. I was done hoping they would change. Done begging for love and attention that should have been there all along. I don't know if I can forgive you, I said, my voice more distant now. But I can't keep holding on to something that isn't there. You have your own way of showing love, and maybe it's just not the way I need. But it's not about me anymore, it's about what you want. I can't keep expecting you to change who you are. She sat back in her chair, a look of realization passing over her face. So, what does that mean for us? It means, I said, my eyes meeting hers, that I'm moving forward. I've made peace with the fact that I don't have the family I always wanted. And I'm done chasing after people who can't give me what I need. I'm not asking for perfection, just for a little effort. I didn't wait for her to say anything else. I stood up, gave her a short, polite nod, and walked out of the cafe. I didn't feel liberated. I didn't feel like I'd won or gotten any sort of sweet revenge. But what I did feel was something I hadn't felt in a long time: peace. The wedding day finally arrived, and for all the anxiety and stress that had come before it, it was still a beautiful day. Andrew and I exchanged vows surrounded by people who truly cared about us, people who had been there for us from the very beginning. My bridesmaids were there, his parents were there, and while my own family still wasn't in the picture, I realized that maybe that was okay. I had Andrew, and that was enough. He'd been my constant support through all of this. His love and loyalty meant more to me than anything my family could offer at that point. As the reception continued into the evening, I was laughing with friends, enjoying the moment. That was when I saw a familiar face across the room, Poppy. She was standing awkwardly by the bar, sipping on a drink. She hadn't been at the ceremony, and I hadn't expected her to show up at all. But there she was. I couldn't help myself. I walked over to her, trying to keep my emotions in check. "You came," I said, my voice even, but with a trace of surprise. She looked a little nervous. "I know. I should have been here earlier. I'm sorry for everything, Delia. I messed up. I was selfish, and I didn't realize how much I hurt you until now. Can we start over?" I looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time in months. And in that moment, I realized something. I didn't need her to apologize. I didn't need her to try to fix anything. What I needed was to let go of the expectations I had for my family and move forward. "You don't need to apologize," I said softly. "But this is who I am now. And if you want to be part of my life, it has to be on my terms." She nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "I can do that." And that was it. There was no grand reconciliation, no deep healing of old wounds. But in that moment, I realized that sometimes, the best revenge isn't about anger or bitterness. It's about moving forward, finding peace with yourself, and no longer allowing the people who hurt you to control your happiness. The rest of the night went on, and I found myself surrounded by people who loved me and supported me. My family wasn't there, but I was okay with it. I didn't need them to define me. I had built something better for myself, a family of my own making. And with Andrew by my side, I knew that the future was going to be just fine.